So recently, we saw the release of the first trailer for Pixar's upcoming film, Elio, which is a film that we know has been coming for quite a while, but which we hadn't really gotten any information about. And recently, there has been a bit of discontent surrounding Pixar releases from the past couple of years. Turning Red had a less than positive response from a big subsection of the audience. Lightyear. Oh, Lightyear. That film was pretty bad, let's be real. It doesn't matter if the quality was high, people did not see that movie. And those that did, well, they didn't exactly rave about it like we're used to from Pixar. It was okay, but it was a massive box office bomb and a bit of an embarrassment. And whilst I think that Elemental looks like it's going to be good, there are still a lot of naysayers that I've seen on places like Twitter and Reddit. Folks that think that Pixar is starting to dip in quality quite hard and that Elemental is just another example of this. That it doesn't look unique, it lacks creativity. And it is what it is. But with all that being said, when I went to look at this trailer for Elio, I was actually really pleasantly surprised. When I watched it, the thing had like over 1 million views in only a matter of hours. And the reception seems to have been rather positive from what I've seen so far. People seem genuinely hyped for this movie. That it's a step back towards that golden era of Pixar. And yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see until it releases to actually decide that. But in the meantime, I figured we could take a look through the trailer and see what stands out. And so yeah, with all that being said, let's take a look. Okay, so we start off the trailer with a bit of a throwback. That deep voice narration that used to be mega common in like heaps of films, but especially animation. It's something that I think's fallen by the wayside a little bit, maybe during the 2000s. Nowadays you see it a lot with video game trailers when they want to play on your nostalgia. And I kind of think that's what they were doing here as well. And then we move on, and I suppose now is the moment for the obligatory, damn it, the animation has really come a long way since Pixar first started making films, hasn't it? Especially the way they use lighting and reflections and hair. But yeah, especially lighting for this trailer. It's really absurd to see how far it's all come along, especially when you go back and look at something like the first Toy Story film. It's just such a massive improvement, with each film pushing along just another step forward. Anyway, this early segment, setting the scene early that we're dealing with a sci-fi sort of deal, which at first I was a little bit worried. Disney's latest journey into that genre with Strange Worlds sucked hard. But then Pixar did make WALL-E, and that's one of the greatest animated films ever, so I think they do have a good chance of doing sci-fi well here. Moving on, we see that there's a lone woman monitoring something, whatever she's monitoring, and she's at a base of some kind. Doesn't really matter about aliens. All that matters to me is, would they really only have one person monitoring all of that? Seems like a pretty big facility. Look at those dishes. Oh well. And here we get our first proper look at the character models, and yeah, I don't know. I'm still not a huge fan of the new style. It looks good, but I'm not all that high on it. I don't know, it's just a visual thing. It's not terrible, it's not hideous, I'm just not on board. Anyway, the aliens start to make contact and seemingly hack into the system and just ransack the whole thing. I mean, a lot of stuff goes by on those screens, and then her son calls her, she brushes him off, and he gets abducted by the aliens. And holy shit, is that suspended animation water? Is Pixar ever going to slow down and stop pushing boundaries? Like, what is this? It's just so good. What's it going to look like in another 20 years? Is there going to be a limit to how far you can go and how good it can look whilst still being, a cartoonish style? Animation's so exciting. Also, imagine being his mum, brushing off your kid, and then he is immediately abducted by aliens. I feel like her storyline's probably going to largely be dealing with the mom guilt, and also, alien hunting to try and get a kid back. And then we come to the alien part. And having seen their little world, spaceship, planety thing, wherever it's set, I gotta say, you can't really accuse Pixar of not being creative with this film. I mean, just look at that. Look at that. It's so absurd and so weird and so unique. I can feel it. Pixar's back with this. Seriously, look at this visual feast. Also, on the kid, I'm guessing that's an eye patch. And since we saw a dad in the photo on the mum's desk, and yet no dad in the trailer, there's a good chance that dad is dead. Died in an accident. Maybe Elio was injured. Just a thought. Because remember, in animation land, having two parents is actually super rare. Because having a dead parent forces immediate drama for the character and allows you to develop audience sympathy far more quickly. But still, I can't also help but think it's a little bit lazy at this point in time. Come on, Pixar. We then arrive at, it's like a mix between the alien UN and the alien High Court, with a whole host of weird and wonderful looking aliens. Seriously, conceptual design is going nuts this time around. You love to see it. The creativity, it really is immense, and I know I keep harping on about it, but it really is true. It really looks like something special with a lot of care being put into it, at least in terms of its design. Let's just hope the same care is being put into the story. And so, that brings us to what the story seems to be about so far. And from what we can see, with the aliens talking about how he's apparently Earth's representative as its leader, which of course he lies about to ensure they don't violently wipe his memory, you can assume that it's probably going to revolve around him being in space. And since the blurb that's been released about his character suggests he doesn't feel like he fits in with other kids, and the main alien we see seems to be a bit odd as well, I think the film is going to be about finding his own place and earning acceptance in this new environment. Before, you would assume that he's going to head home and stay on Earth, but now more self-confident, feeling like he has a sense of belonging. I mean, you'd have to assume he goes back to Earth, right? Stranger things have happened in film, but that would be a bit of a weird ending. And at the same time, he's also going to be trying to avoid his planet probably getting vaporized. After all, they say it's the trial of Earth. And I don't think aliens are going to be taking half measures and a slap on the wrist sort of thing. And then on top of that, I think we'll have a B storyline of the mum trying to get her son back. As after all, she'd be feeling pretty silly about hanging up on him when he's about to get abducted by aliens. And since she's the only person in the monitoring room to begin with, I feel like the aliens are going to hide their tracks and the government's going to think she's crazy. And so, yeah, there's not really much else to talk about in regards to the trailer. It wasn't very long, just a teaser. I guess we can talk about the casting choices real quick. The kid mostly. I mean, I love the voices for the aliens. They seem like they're going to be quite memorable and funny. But especially Elio's voice. It was a nice, pleasant sort of everyman, every child voice. A generic kid voice. And I think it actually fits the character very nicely. He's meant to be this sort of wallflower type character. Somebody that doesn't fit in with everybody else, that just fades into the background. And this voice feels like it fits that vibe. And also it just seems expressive and emotive. You know, you get fear, excitement. He's able to do a lot of silliness. We've seen all of that in the trailer already. So I don't think it's going to be one of those situations where we're going to be stuck sitting through an excruciating performance by a child actor who sucks. I'm really quite optimistic. Not just about the acting, but really every aspect of this film. It really does look like we're staring down the barrel of a new era for Pixar. And yes, that is a big call and an early call. But what can I say? The company's been in a rut. But this film does look like something they would have released, half a decade or so ago. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but I'm on the hype train well and truly. And so, with all that being said, that's the end of the video. And I would like to remind you that these are just my opinions, and I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the trailer? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.